Do you have any incomplete tasks or bucket list items you just can't seem to accomplish? Why do you think that is? In the episode Big Fish in a Small Town, Mayberry's new resident and county clerk Howard Sprague gets wind of a new fishing season kicking off the next day. He stops by the courthouse and asks Sheriff Andy Taylor and his son Opie if he can tag along with them. They reluctantly agree, worried that the first-time fisherman, who's kind of a downer anyway, will be more trouble than they want to deal with, especially on a relaxing fishing trip. Well, Harold shows up the next day for the excursion looking like an ad from Cabela's. Along with his waders and a fishing vest, he's brought along a depth finder, a radio, an umbrella, roasted chickens, 2 of them, lemon pie, and potato salad. After Andy has to untangle Howard's line from a tree and his own pants, he and Opie accept that this is going to be one long day of fishing. But soon, Howard has a big one on the line and he needs help landing it. Turns out the fish is Old Sam, the legendary Tucker's Lake silver carp that has eluded the fishermen of Mayberry for years. How did he catch it? By baiting his hook with leftover potato salad. Realizing that he'll never have the chance to land Old Sam, Goober says, "It's like the end of something, ain't it?" Yeah, it probably is. Are you pursuing something just as elusive as Old Sam? How would you feel if someone else accomplishes the goal first, and on their very first try nonetheless? I would venture to guess that all of us have a similar quest. It could be a bucket list item like traveling to Europe or restoring a classic car. Maybe it's a professional aspiration like achieving a certification or starting a business, maybe developing a product. And it could be that it's more of a personal item like paying off debt or maybe mending a broken relationship. Why aren't we able to land our own Old Sam? One reason could be that we fail to take a new approach. We might think we know what we're doing, but if the effort never generates the desired result, it's time to try something different. When I was in school back in the 90s, I struggled with math. I took college algebra my freshman year of college and failed horribly. My sophomore year, I registered for the same class with the same professor, and I just knew this time would be different. But I failed again. Probably because I was using the same notes that I took from the same professor the first time I took the course. I was too dense to realize that maybe a different approach, a new professor, would make a big difference. Eventually, that's what I did the third time I took it, and I barely eked through that time. But I did. A fresh approach was all that I needed. It could be that we have a project but have yet to set a concrete date to knock it out. You know, there's an adage called Parkinson's Law. This law states that work expands so as to fill the time available for completion. In other words, if the target date for completion doesn't exist, the task probably won't ever get finished. For some of us, someday is when we want to get something done. But until someday is added to the week along with Sunday through Saturday, there's little hope. A great example of Parkinson's Law is when President Kennedy challenged NASA to put a man on the moon before the end of the decade, before 1970. Apollo 11 touched down in the Sea of Tranquility on the moon on July 20th, 1969. I have a phrase on a sticky note next to my computer. It says, "Deadlines make headlines." It's there to remind me that it's much easier to promote something that's been accomplished than it is to tell people that you want to try to get something done, and maybe you'll let them know the whole story when you finish it. Although a lot of people live their life more in love with the idea of doing something than actually doing it. Speaking of headlines, what happened with Old Sam after he was caught? Initially, Howard took the silver carp to an aquarium in another town so people could see him. But after sensing the disappointment from his fellow citizens in Mayberry, he returned the fish to Tucker's Lake. After all, that's where the fish was born and raised. And this gave everyone in town a second chance at landing the big one that got away. Until next time, don't assume there'll be a second chance to finish off your pursuit, your bucket list item. Set a deadline for completion and try new approaches. Don't be surprised if someone else beats you to it using leftover potato salad. Oh man. On that same note, this is the last Mayberry Method Moment video. It's been quick, hasn't it? I hope you found value in these recordings, and I'd love to hear feedback on which ones you found the most helpful, especially if you applied some of the tips and approaches to your specific life and business. I want you to be like Howard and land Big Sam. Hey, if you want to find me online, I'm easy to find. It's rickroberts.com. And you can contact A to Z Entertainment to inquire about bookings or further video series that I put out. This is the completion of my goal to offer an on-demand keynote option. As Goober said, it's like the end of something, ain't it? Alrighty then.